Who would win in a fight? Well, stay with us until the end of the video because we'll discuss the differences between them, their habitats, diet, behavior, and we'll figure out which one would win in a fight. Size and description. Talking about gorillas' physical characteristics, gorillas are omnivore primates that weigh around 220 to 440 pounds and can reach heights of 4.4 to 5.1 feet tall. Gorillas have dark skin and black to brown-gray hair. Some gorillas grow silver-gray hairs around their backs and upper thighs upon reaching maturity, earning them the name silverback. Gorillas have a particular body shape because their stomachs are larger than their chests, due to their enlarged intestines which help them in digesting bulky fibrous vegetation. Furthermore, gorillas have more muscles in their arms than they do in their legs since they use them for their defense and also to move around. In fact, their upper body strength is 6 times more powerful than an adult human and their arm span is about 1 feet. Like their hands, gorillas' feet have opposable thumbs too, allowing them to freely manipulate objects with their hands and feet. Gorillas have a massive head, with a bulging forehead overhanging their eyes and a high domed head. Orangutans are the world's largest arboreal, tree-dwelling mammals. They can weigh between 66 to 200 pounds and can stand between 4 to 5 feet. Orangutans are mostly reddish-orange, but their coloration can alter between dark brown and pale reddish-orange. Orangutans' arms are about 1.5 times longer than their legs, allowing them to freely swing from tree to tree. Furthermore, they have an arm span of about 7 feet, which, accompanied by their strong arm muscles and shoulders, supports their entire body weight when swinging from tree to tree. Orangutans have long and curved fingers and toes, which aid them in their ability to hold and quickly release branches as they cross trees. The thumb and big toe of orangutans oppose the other fingers and toes, enabling them to grasp and manipulate objects. They can use their feet in multiple ways, like to hold, eat, and manipulate food. Range and habitat. Let's talk about the gorillas first. Gorillas are typically found in tropical forests which have little variation in temperature and length of daylight of about 12 hours. However, because rainfall varies considerably in the forest, it affects the type of vegetation that grows there. The western lowland gorillas are found throughout West Africa in different regions, like in the tropical forests of Cameroon, Central African Republic, Gabon, Congo, and Equatorial Guinea. The tropical forests of the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo are inhabited by eastern lowland gorillas, whereas the mountain gorilla favors the high-altitude tropical forests of Zaire, Rwanda, and Uganda, being at the height of 5,413 to 12,435 feet. Lastly, the Cross River gorilla is found in a small area between Nigeria and Cameroon. Moving on to orangutans, they also inhabit tropical forests in the regions of Borneo and Sumatra. They represent only 1.3% of Indonesia's land mass, but support 10% of its known plant species and 12.5% of its mammals. Central Bornean orangutans are found in the regions of Sambangua, Tanjung Puting, Belentekan, Mawas, and Gunung, whereas the northeastern Bornean orangutan inhabits Sabah Foundation Forestry Concession East, Kinabatangan, and Gunung Ganja. The second type of orangutan, the Sumatran orangutan, inhabits northern Sumatra in isolated forest areas north of Lake Toba. Diet. Moving on to their diets, gorillas rely on vegetation as their main source of diet. They can survive on vegetation such as leaves, stems, roots, vines, herbs, trees, and grasses, but such vegetation has relatively low nutritional quality. Therefore, they must consume a large quantity to meet their nutritional requirements. The western, eastern, and mountain gorillas mainly rely on plant species as their food source. In fact, about 3% of their diet is caterpillars and termites, 67% is fruit, and 17% is leaves. An adult gorilla may consume more than 40 pounds of vegetation per day. It is rare for gorillas to drink in the wild because they consume fresh vegetation, which already comprises enough water to fulfill their water intake. Now talking about orangutans, there are more than 400 variations of plants that orangutans eat. Almost 90% of their diet consists of fruits. In fact, their favorite fruit is durians. Durians have sharp spines and a pungent odor. Orangutans use multiple tools in their powerful jaws to break and then eat them. Although they mainly eat fruits, orangutans must also fulfill their other nutritional needs, which they do by feeding on leaves for carbohydrates and nuts for protein. Orangutans spend almost 6 hours a day either eating or looking for food. Moreover, orangutans are very skilled in locating their food source. They rely on their memory to locate temporary food locations and track seasonal changes for different types of fruits. Furthermore, they identify behavioral signs from other animals to find fruiting trees. Orangutans, like gorillas, find most of their water intake from juicy fruits, but they may drink water from streams or rivers occasionally. Behavior. Now, considering their behavior in everyday life, gorillas usually live in groups called troops, which generally consists of 1 to 4 adult males accompanied by some females and a young gorilla. The strongest silverback adult male among them is considered the leader of the group. Silverbacks are more aggressive than other gorillas because the group's safety is their responsibility. Gorillas are non-territorial animals and have a home range between 2 to 40 kilometers squared. Gorillas mostly walk quadrupedally, 4-footed, meaning using both their arms and legs. Gorillas usually travel only 0.5 to 1 kilometer when there is ample food supply because of their massive body size. They rest in locations where there is sufficient food supply and build their nests over them. Their nest construction varies, but it is usually made up of broken or bent branches around and underneath each other. Although gorillas are peaceful by nature, but when threatened, they can be dangerous. Whenever the troop is threatened, the silverback would loudly pound its chest and make loud noises as well as produce a pungent odor. Then it would charge at its enemy, providing the troop enough time to retreat to a safe distance. Male orangutans usually prefer to travel alone, but they sometimes are accompanied by female orangutans to mate. They also may form a companionship with other orangutans within their home range. Orangutans, like the gorillas, are non-territorial, but male orangutans are intolerant of each other and likely stay apart whenever they travel in the same area. If two males meet, they are likely to confront each other, and threatening actions are displayed like staring, inflating their throat pouches, producing long-call vocalizations, and shaking branches. Orangutans are skilled in using the objects at their disposal. They use branches to create nests for themselves and also to use as a protection from enemies. Leaves have been used as a sponge to obtain water from streams and to wipe unwanted substances from their hair. Moreover, Bornean orangutans hold tree branches over their heads to take shelter from the sun or rain. Sumatran orangutans make cushions or gloves from leaves to protect them from thorny foods. They build their nests about 60 to 90 feet up in the trees by bending and overlapping branches. They usually build their nest around their last feeding grounds and rest up to 14 hours in them. Now that we have taken a look at all the characteristics of an orangutan and a gorilla, who is the king of the great apes? It may not be surprising, but if a gorilla and an orangutan were to fight, the gorilla would overpower the orangutan. Gorillas are way better fighters and far more capable of dealing great injuries to enemies. An orangutan may be able to escape some damage by swinging from trees, but that would in no way stop the gorilla from following and continuing to damage the orangutan. If they were to meet on flat ground, the gorilla would quickly charge at the orangutan and with its massive strength, inflict fatal damage to the orangutan. It may also use its muscular arms to toss the orangutan around and continue to beat it. Gorillas can lift up to 1,800 pounds with their massive arms, hence they can cause fatal injuries, whereas orangutans can only lift up to 500 pounds. Furthermore, the orangutan's jaw strength of a 600 psi is in no way strong enough to rival the 1,300 psi jaw strength of the gorilla. They may attack the orangutan's vital points and cause severe trauma. Additionally, gorillas move in groups, already giving them an advantage in numbers and overwhelming the lone orangutan. Orangutans only weigh between 66 to 200 pounds, whereas gorillas weigh between 220 to 440 pounds, outweighing them heavily, and most of that extra weight is muscle. Gorillas can also move up to 25 miles per hour, while orangutans can only move up to 2 to 3 miles per hour on land and while swinging from trees. Gorillas also outmatch the orangutans in their defense capabilities. They use a threat display, like making loud noises or banging their chest to make the enemy think twice before attacking them. They also use their large size to intimidate their opponent and overwhelm them by quickly charging at them. Orangutans also have quick defense capabilities, like escaping by climbing trees. They also use threat displays, like showing teeth and swinging branches. Although alarming, they are in no way as threatening as the gorillas. Gorillas and orangutans may be similar in some ways, but one of them is built for fighting and has the greater advantage. Both animals have their pros and cons, but by examining both their characteristics, it is clear that the gorilla is the more dominant primate and the king of the great apes.